financial position has fundamentally shifted. We've taken out billions of costs permanently, and we're in the hundreds of millions increased revenue. And when you look at the underlying business, the KPIs are all trending well. When the majority shareholder becomes the controlling shareholder, you have to go through this process. So we're not giving anything away. We're not selling our spectrum. We're keeping our spectrum. Cell C remains in charge of that spectrum. But Cell C will now be controlled by Blue Label when this process is approved, as opposed to having Blue Label as a majority share. And there's still a lot to come. We are in a position now where we're going to do a brand refresh.
Welcome to another episode of ITWeb TV. Today we are joined by Jorge Mendes, who is the CEO of Cell C. We are privileged because it's about a year since Jorge was appointed into the CEO position at Cell C. Welcome to ITWeb TV, Jorge.
Thanks very much, Edmire. Lovely to be here.
Awesome. It's been a year, Jorge. If you can tell us how it's been like your year at Cell C.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an incredible journey, to be honest. It's been filled with lots of fun, lots of obstacles, lots of challenges, and wonderful opportunities. I think, to be brutally honest, if I hold up a scorecard, I think we've done quite a lot over a fairly short period of time. But I'm really confident that we're well positioned to take the business forward. Our main aims were to make sure that we return to growth in a sustainable way and profitability. We want to do so with customer centricity, so the customer is at the center of all the decisions that we make. And I've always been very, very passionate to build an incredible culture, and I think we've come a long way in doing so. There's been lots of appointments, but we can get into some of the details. So I think overall, if I hold up the scorecard, I'd say we've had a pretty decent year and are well positioned for the future.
I remember the last time we spoke, you were talking about business stabilization efforts at Cell C. How has that progressed so far?
Well, thank you. It's actually gone very, very well. The first things that we needed to do was to restructure our roaming agreement, and we've managed to do so. I think that provides a great platform for which to sell products and services. So that's happened, and that was a key component. So we've got really great partners in the form of Vodacom and MTN from a roaming perspective. So great quality of service. So effectively, from a Cell C customer point of view, you now have the best of the best network, and that's exceptional that we've been able to do that in a short space of time. So that's great. What we've done is a lot of changes in terms of personnel. So the full ExCo is now complete, and the next two layers of management have been well underway. So we've now made north of 70 appointments and changes in the organization. So I think from a people point of view, we're also well positioned. We're building and continue to build capability and real depth in bench strength. So I think that's been significant. Our financial position has changed fundamentally. We're not in the clear yet. So I'd like to say that will still take a little bit of time. It was always part of a recap process. But the financial position has improved significantly from where it was a year ago. And all the underlying KPIs of the business are actually trending really well. So we're quite pleased with how it's going so far.
Awesome. Thanks, Jorge. Speaking of recapitalization, is it something that is still ongoing or you are done with it? And also maybe from a debt point of view, how have you managed to reduce your debt up to now?
Yeah, it's a good point. The process was always a 5-year journey. That was the intention of the recap. So we're kind of being 2 years into that journey now. The balance sheet is still a challenge, but we don't intend using our own balance sheet for now. So funding happens in a slightly different way compared to normal organizations, particularly in this industry. So that's a journey that we're on. But as I've said, if you take the P&L, our financial position has fundamentally shifted. We've taken out billions of costs permanently, and we're in the hundreds of millions increased revenue. And when you look at the underlying business, the KPIs are all trending well. So we think we've got a great platform in terms of our network quality. We've got a great value perception, and when we're making sure that all the decisions we make is with the customers in mind, what products do they want that are different and unique, that's all boding well. And we've got a couple of strategic pillars that we can talk about, but our MVNO business is really going in the right direction. We've started just recently in our enterprise divisions, are really starting to grow something there. We had nothing before. So those are trending really nicely. We've got lots of work happening in our retail front. I'll talk about what we're doing with our stores because there's some beautiful changes coming. So I think all in all, we're pretty pleased that we're going in the right direction for sure. And from a recap point of view, I think the financial position is just improving every month that goes by.
Great stuff. You mentioned that you have updated your roaming agreements with MTN and Vodacom. How easy is it for you to compete with these companies when you are using their network?
It's very easy. To be brutally honest, I think we have great partnerships with both organizations. So we've got a great quality of network. We've got full parity of service. So given our customer base, we actually perform in number one position on most of these KPIs now. You talk about KPIs like call setup success rate, call retention rates, latency, jittering, upload speeds, download speeds, and we use independent benchmarks. And our customer experience is coming out on top. So that's quite incredible in a short space of time. So yes, they require the roaming revenue. So it's a good partnership in the form of the amount of money that we pay both partners is something that's quite exceptional, to be honest, given the state of the economy and the tough conditions, the trading conditions. From a wholesale revenue point of view, they like it. And from a quality of service point of view, that is a CapEx light model that we've elected to compete with. To be brutally honest, if we wanted to build our own network, we'd have to spend probably 35 to 40 billion. And so that's a decision we've taken to not do. One, we do not have the financial strength to do that and compete. So this is a CapEx light model that gets you there in the quality of service, and basically you're swapping CapEx for OpEx. So you're paying out hundreds of millions in roaming fees, but the reality is that your customers, in this case, Cell C customers, get an incredible experience. So it's a CapEx light model. It's different to building your own infrastructure, and we believe it's a great decision that we've made to go down this route. It's a great strategic decision.
And just to find out, how much do you pay for this?
Hundreds of millions. and that's monthly, right? So these numbers run into the billions. So think about it this way: it's billions of revenue that go to one or the other. And we've also got mock and roaming, so that allows us to move traffic and so on at a geography level or at a product level, etc. So that helps us quite considerably. But as I say, it's quite significant, So is it expensive? Sure, it's expensive as your quality of service that you pay for. But I think it's a fair deal where the cost that we pay and the revenue they generate for what we get, I think, is fair.
One of my colleagues asked me to ask you that. How come is a smaller operator like Cell C, which is using Vodacom and MTN network, which are bigger players, how come in some instances you find that Cell C is actually cheap?
Yeah, exactly. So our commercial strategy is one that is different. So I think if you just look at pure financials, we are not trying to defend a very high EBITDA margin, let's say 39 or 40%. Which the bigger players have one structure and the size of the organization for that. So that's not a position that we're in. We're trying to get into the 20s, if you take from a EBITDA margin perspective. So what it does allow us to do is to compete quite favorably and aggressively when it comes to pricing for consumers. We've always had the value perception, so we want to continue in that direction. We want to have great prices, great value of products, different products. So you have to compete with what I call the bread and butter stuff, voice and data, etc. But you have to do some unique things. Otherwise, the market is kind of saturated. Why would a subscriber, a customer leave one network to join Cell C? We need to give them those compelling reasons. We've got some great propositions that have been launched already, and there's still a lot to come. We are in a position now where we're going to do a brand refresh. So watch the space with some new products, new positioning, and we are revamping all of our retail stores. We start next month with the first one in Mall of Africa, completely new look and feel, and then we'll do two more, one in KZN, one Western Cape. We'll run them for a few months just to make sure that we sort out all the fine-tuning and teething issues that we may have, and then we'll do the whole lot. We'll do over 100 in this format over the coming months and into the next year.
Awesome. Looking forward to the brand refresh. Then also speaking about the the stores, the retail stores, you recently sent out a statement saying you are franchising most of your retail stores. What was the reason behind this, and did you raise any money from the exercise?
Yeah, so what we've first looked at is what is the right model for the customer experience, number one. And so it was not a financial decision per se, it was a decision around what is the best model for our customers to have a great interactive platform in the form of a retail store. And we have both versions. We have company-owned stores and we have franchise stores. And we see that the franchise model actually works better. Okay. The customer experience, it's got that entrepreneurship. So we wanted to create a better experience, a better performing retail environment. And that's the decision we made to go the franchise model, which is not uncommon. It's quite common in the industry. All the networks have franchised environments. Some have got a few company-owned stores. So that's the choice that we've made. What's quite unique about this is we've got a beautiful opportunity that we've put on the table. So we are inviting existing franchisees to apply for some of these stores that we're converting to franchise from company-owned, but also the staff. The staff that are in the stores can go through an application process, and we're hoping that we'll produce a handful of entrepreneurs that actually were Cell C staff that will get an opportunity to own some of these franchise stores. So that's very much underway. The process has begun. And it will take the next months and even going into the next year, because it's a process of each single store that has to go through this. And we think with our current footprint, which is 109 stores, we probably will need a bit more in the future and make sure that we complement digital channels and physical channels really engaging well together. So I think it gives our customers a nice opportunity to engage with Cell C in this new way.
And did this process in any way impact on jobs?
No, not at all. So effectively, all staff will be, they'll stay exactly as they are with all their benefits for one entire year. And then after that, it depends on if they want to continue, like everyone else, right? None of us have got guaranteed employment, but the intention is not to remove anyone at all. In fact, we're going in the other direction. You know, we've now appointed nearly 100 people, and that will continue to grow. We probably will still look at north of another 100, which is the model that we've built, so that all the areas of our business are well resourced. We still want to be a lean organization, so we're about 850 people. We don't want to be going into 2,000-3,000. We want to run a lean organization, but no job losses. To the contrary, I think we're one of few companies at the moment that are recruiting quite aggressively, to be honest.
Thanks a lot, George. Going back to the recruitment that you mentioned earlier, there were some reports in the media that George is just employing guys from Vodacom, his former employer. Is that true?
No, that's not true. There has been a number of staff that have come from Vodacom. That part is true, but it's not only Vodacom. In fact, we are very diverse in our approach in terms of staff, where they come from. And we've, as I say, we've now done nearly 100. We've done 30-odd promotions and 60-something appointments from outside. And by far, the large majority is not from Vodacom. So we restructured our ExCo to make sure that we are well positioned to actually drive against our strategic pillars. So we reshaped the organization. And that's well underway. So no, we've got people that have arrived from different industries, from different networks within the sector. It is true that we hired a number of people from Vodacom, and I mean that's how people work with people. You develop relationships and you identify their strengths and so on. But our ExCo is pretty much half.
Okay. And I understand there's a lot of new people in the company. How are you managing to make the team work together as a team as we want?
That's a great question, and it's something I'm incredibly proud of. If I take what we're building as a culture, we're like a family, and it's fun. It's challenging. We trust each other. It's honest. There's integrity. We do things in a simple way. We're delivering serious things. It doesn't mean you have to do it in a non-fun way. So we have a lot of fun. We have a great team and a great culture. We have lots and lots of ongoing communication frameworks. So, for example, every single month we have a birthday breakfast for staff that have celebrated their birthday in the previous month. And that's always one of the most important things on my agenda. I never skip. I host it myself. and we get to engage with staff members. We actually play a game. One truth, one false is what they got to tell me, and then I got to guess which one it is, and that's the icebreaker to have a conversation. In these conversations, we found out that people do skydiving and they've jumped out of a plane more than 200 times, or someone's climbed a very specific mountain like Kilimanjaro and all sorts of stuff. So that's one. Every single Friday, we send out a message to all staff. That message comes out from myself. It's a WhatsApp group. We do it in the form of a video or a text or any other format. We just want to make sure we continuously communicate. We have a town hall every single month with all staff and give them an update on various things. And then there's a whole bunch of initiatives. There's things that happen throughout the year, whether they are well-being days or heritage day, and lots of activity always at the office. At our head office, we actually play music on a Friday afternoon. So when you walk into our reception, it's not a party that's on the go. I'm not a DJ, but we do have a resident DJ as well inside. So that's the uniqueness of the skill set that we've got, all these hidden talents. So it's something really, really important to me is to build. We want to have the best culture in the country. We've started with some progressive policies as well, so flexi working arrangements. We're trialing unlimited leave at certain levels, and we'll see how that goes, and then try and introduce that throughout the organization. I'm a big believer that you can't work 350 days a year to take 2 weeks off and expect to be fresh. So you need regular breaks, long weekends, a couple of days here and there along the journey throughout the year, and people are staying fresh. People are staying rejuvenated. I can't tell you the incredible feeling I have with the people in the organization, because it's a mixture of new people, but a lot of existing people. And we've just all worked very well together. There's some incredible talent that we have, but it's this feeling that it doesn't feel like you're coming to work. You're just enjoying what you do so much, and you spend a huge amount of hours there. So the integration and the working together as a team is something that I found really, really is just happening in a beautiful way.
Thanks a lot, George. I'm sure I'll visit one of the days.
Please do.
Listen to the music.
Fridays.
Okay, moving on to the next question. Looking at the transaction that was recently approved by the Competition Commission between Cell C and Blue Label. How has that progressed so far, and when should we expect this to be final?
Yeah, so effectively, just for context, is that Blue Label's our major shareholder. They got 49.3%, and they've applied for control. So that process is an application that we have submitted to both the regulator, ICASA, as well as the Competition Commission. So that process is well underway. There's lots of requests for information, and so there's meetings that are set up, etc., etc. I think it will still be a few months, to be honest, before that process is finally approved. But it's well underway, and we see this as a really great opportunity because, one, you have a majority shareholder that actually has control of the business, which I think is a bizarre situation that was not the case in the past. But we're working really well together. We want to take advantage of the full ecosystem. And if you take the Blue Label group, there's an incredible amount of companies in the group that we are tapping into them to make sure that we really, really take full advantage of this ecosystem. So Ticket Pro, as an example, that does a large amount of ticketing in the country for all sporting and arts, music events, etc. There must be some opportunities that we can unlock. And we have workshopped these. We've got a whole plan now on how to do them. They have Blue Label Media. We have Blue Nova. So there's a whole data organization with lots and lots of information that we can use. Electricity vending. So there's some significant pieces of that group that we haven't really done much with. So I think there's lots of opportunities to unlock all of that potential. But to answer your question, I think we're still a few months away from the process being finalized.
Thanks, George. If you can also maybe elaborate to me, I've also seen reports that transaction will result in Cell C transferring its spectrum assets, service license.
Yeah, so just to set the record straight again, I think that has been something that surfaced a few times. We're not transferring anything. The spectrum is held by Cell C, and the process that we're going through here is that Blue Label are moving from a majority shareholder to a controlling shareholder. And when that process takes place, you actually have to apply to the regulator and to the Competition Commission. And the documents that you fill in is what creates this ambiguous feeling that we are transferring the spectrum, but we're not. You simply, Cell C keeps the spectrum, we are the license holder of that spectrum.
Yeah.
But the process that one goes through is that when the majority shareholder becomes the controlling shareholder, you have to go through this process. So we're not giving anything away. We're not selling our spectrum. We're keeping our spectrum. Cell C remains in charge of that spectrum. But Cell C will now be controlled by Blue Label when this process is approved, as opposed to having Blue Label as a majority shareholder.
Mm. Thanks a lot, George, for clarifying that. Yeah. Then moving on to regulation, ICASA recently proposed new interconnect co-termination rates.
Yes.
What's your take on the proposals presented by ICASA?
Yeah, so the process is on the go. I've been myself presenting during the public hearings with the regulator. The Cell C position is very clear. We have not got any significant benefit from asymmetry. The proposal is to become symmetrical, and we're saying that should not happen, and should not happen at least for the next 3 years, which is the glide path that was already in place. And the reason for that is that about 80% of the voice traffic is still controlled by MTN and Vodacom. And so as a result, they've got pricing that is skewed for on-net because they've got the majority of that market share. So they already have that benefit. Their argument is that we're no longer a new entrant, and 22 years later, you should have the benefit of being around for a long time, and therefore you should not have asymmetry. What they forget is that they intentionally put the call termination rates up when Cell C launched that were not there, and they put them up to over R1.40. So Cell C had a false start right from the beginning, and that's never corrected itself. This organization hasn't made a profit for a long, long time, ever since it's launched. And the reality is that there's been no benefit that's been achieved through this because of the sheer size of the two organizations, right? They control 80% of that. We've had the cheapest call rate in the market for more than 10 years. It's nearly 100% cheaper than anybody else. And still we have not managed to break that control that they have between the two big operators. So you can't have termination rates being the same. We do support the fact that the cost base, so there's two models. They use Lyric and Lyric Plus, which is effectively the input costs to determine how much does it cost to terminate a call on your own network and on somebody else's network. So we'd be very comfortable with if those input costs turn out to be 4 cents or 6 cents per call. But what you need is you need to keep a gap on asymmetry between the smaller operators and the bigger operators. So if it does turn out to be 6 cents, then we should have a 3 or 4 cents differential to that. So we should be receiving, say, 9 or 10 cents as opposed to the 6, because we have got zero advantage of the size. So for me, it's a market share size. That's the case we've pleaded with the regulator. We're waiting. We hope it will be favorable. They're busy processing all the presentations and the documents that have been submitted by all operators. And let's see what the outcome is. But it will be an absolute disaster if they make it symmetrical for smaller players. This would take out comfortably over 300 million a year from a revenue perspective, and it will not. You see, the intention was that the benefits get passed on to the consumer. The reality is that I've actually challenged the regulator that says, if the termination rates change, let the two big operators sign in writing that they will reduce the prices to the customers. But they won't. They'll still control 80% of the voice traffic, so nothing will happen. The intention of passing on the pricing to the customers, we've had it for 10 years. Nobody's followed. My price is half of theirs. If they were going to follow, they would have followed long time ago. They're simply going to bank more margin. They're going to make the already very profitable companies even more profitable. That's all that's going to happen with this process. So we have a very firm position that the symmetry must remain, at least for the next 3 years, and then it can be reviewed. But we don't think it can be taken away.
That's interesting. Thanks a lot, George. We also have got a new Minister of Communications, Solomon Lassie, who was appointed recently. What would you want him to do to make our telecommunications industry thrive? What will be, like, from your point of view, should be on his to-do list?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and congratulations to the Minister. We've sent a congratulations letter, and we do expect to have some engagement, both as Cell C and then also as the industry. So I think that's critically important, and we wish him well because, unfortunately, we've had too many ministers in this sector. I think in the 30 years I've been involved in this industry, we've had 14 or 15 ministers. So it's unfortunately a bit of a revolving door from that perspective. So we're really hoping that it'll be tremendous value. I think the request would be, I would say that the minister needs to cultivate the soil and basically make this industry conducive for one, investment, and for good competition. So there's some regulations that will need to be looked at. I'm hoping very much that he works well with the sector and with us in particular to engage proactively, so that regulation is not put out there and then you got an opportunity to comment, but rather work with the sector to carve out what the regulation should look like so that you can make it a very pro-competitive landscape. For example, MVNOs. We are the home of MVNOs. We have the bulk of we have the big players certainly, and the bulk of all MVNOs, and we've embraced that. And the last round of the spectrum auction requires that each network operator make one MVNO successful for a period of 3 years. We really have embraced that, and we want to continue to do so. What does the legislation say in terms of termination rates when it comes to MVNOs? So if I lose this asymmetry on termination rates, that will have an implication on my MVNO partners, right? And one would argue that they are new entrants and they are smaller players, so they should also get that benefit. Now, they get it because they're on Cell C, but if they were on another network, they wouldn't get it. So we have to make sure that the regulation, I think, is pro-competition, in a sustainable way, of course. In the sector is, I believe, a key to unlocking real economic implications in a positive way. I think the digital economy for sure. So I think that it's more just working with us and making regulation and so on pro-competition and making sure that the landscape is fair and equitable.
Thanks a lot, George. Just looking at the MVNO business, your business, how many partners do you have now? And I understand from the last spectrum auction, your competitors also have got MVNO platforms.
Yes.
How is the competition in that market? How many partners do we have?
Yes, so on those, we have 17 in total. Some are smaller. We've got 2 that are very large. There's some more stuff that's happening as we speak. So we've made sure that we've got really good commercial structures and that those propositions are really great for customers, that give customers more choice. So I think if you look at the Capitec business, that's really Capitec Connect. I think that's doing really, really well. Great propositions that customers are starting to take advantage of. If you look at FNB Connect, also they're doing really, really well. They've been around for a long time. So those are arguably the biggest players in the market by a long shot. And they run great businesses, and so we've really entrenched ourselves from a partnership point of view. We love working with those organizations. We see them as genuine partners. We don't compete per se. They're out in the market. We've got to give them the right ingredients that they can compete with. But within their own organizations, they've got great tools and products to really go after something unique that is not offered by kind of the traditional mobile network operators. So we're very pro this. It's a strategic pillar of ours, and it's growing nicely. We're talking more than double-digit growth annually that's taking place in this MVNO business. So we're really proud of the direction that it's going in.
Thank you so much, George. I think those were the few questions that I had specifically for the business. If you can just give us maybe a parting shot about what should we expect about this big brand refresh that is coming.
You want the juicy stuff, I see, Maya. No, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to leave that as a little bit of a surprise because otherwise I'll let the cat out the bag. But we're not far now. We're probably a couple of weeks away, a month and a half away from a brand refresh. We've done a lot of work over the last year to really identify with customers, engaging with customers, what is it that resonates about the Cell C brand? What does it stand for? What are we going to do? And so I can tell you, it's real customer centricity. That's what we stand for. We are a spirited disruptor. That's what we stand for. We want to make sure that we build sustainable and profitable businesses. I think this is the last attempt at fixing Cell C, and I'm very, very comfortable that we are very much on the right track. You've seen the brand show up in different ways where we can make best network claims. We sponsor the Comrades Marathon, which we think is a great property. You'll see that also improve significantly next year how we show up. We think we can add tremendous value there. We sponsor the Wheel of Fortune. We sponsor Rugby Legends. We sponsor the Sharks. So we really try to make sure that well, remember they won the cup last year, right? So this year, early in the year. So actually very well, So, but these things are, that's sport. You're going to go through phases where you win a lot, and you're going to go through phases where you don't do so well. But I think from a brand positioning, it resonates very well with our customers, these properties. So I think you'll start seeing us show up a little different. I'm very excited because it's a fresh look that's coming. I can't give you more than that, otherwise I damage the whole launch. But we're going through the same process. We'll launch it to staff and business partners, and then we'll take it to the market. But I'm very excited about what lies ahead. We've been working hard in the background to make sure that it's going to be very well positioned. So I'm super excited about the future, I can tell you. I would rather be at Cell C than anywhere else, to be brutally honest. I think the ingredients that we've got are putting us in a really, really great position to compete in a very aggressive way going forward. So lots of exciting stuff that lies ahead.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, George. Now going to your personal, you mentioned something about skydiving. And
no, not for me. Yeah, no skydiving and DJ for me.
What do you do maybe when you're not busy?
Yeah, sure. Look, for fun, I'm active every day, so I exercise regularly. I used to play football, but I don't play that much anymore, to be honest. I love restaurants. You'll find me a lot at restaurants. So I like cooking. So I like eating and drinking. So a glass of red wine with a great meal is always something that's quite dear to me. I find that breaking bread is something that brings people together. So even in a lot of our meetings, we have food because I think people just engage better when you're breaking bread, so to speak. So we do quite a bit of that. And I love music, so that's why on Fridays we have music as well. I listen to all kinds of music. So I think fairly balanced.
Awesome. Thank you so much, George, for coming here to our studios at ITWeb TV. Hope to be meeting you when you do the brand relaunch.
Absolutely.
Anytime soon. That was Jorge Mendes, CEO of Cell C. Don't forget to subscribe to our ITWeb YouTube channel. Thank you.